Hello and welcome to another standard video. Today we're trying out this blue-white Leyline Axe artifact deck featuring a 4-mana artifact that if it's in your opening hand, you can begin the game with it on the battlefield, and then it's 3 mana to equip, giving the equipped creature +1/+1, double strike, and trample. So very powerful equipment if you can cheat it into play, otherwise it's 4 mana to cast it, which is a little bit less exciting. This deck also plays with a Regal Bunnycorn, which is a great recipient of a Leyline Axe, as its power and toughness grows with the number of non-land permanents we control, and then we've got lots of cheap creatures that will produce 2 permanents for just 1 mana, like the Novice Inspector making a clue token, and Spyglass Siren making a map token, and then a Mockingbird can copy either one of those 1-drops, or maybe even a Bunnycorn to make a flying version of it, and then a Warden of the Inner Sky also makes use of all those extra permanents, as it can tap those down to pick up additional +1 counters, and Scry 1, also great with the axe on the battlefield early on. And then at 2 mana or only, removal is Sheltered by Ghosts, which can also give our creature lifelink. And then at 3 mana, there's Steel Seraph, which can give our creatures various abilities like Flying, Vigilance, or lifelink. And then a Zoetic Glyph pairs well with all the clue tokens and map tokens, as we can enchant those to immediately attack with a 5/4, and even if the opponent has removal, we'll still get to discover 3, although that won't be able to find Steel Seraph, since it's technically a 6-drop, which we can just cast for 3 mana through Prototype. And then the Leyline Axe, which we're again hoping to have in our opener instead of having to cast it. And then the mana base, lots of blue-white dual lands. The mana base in blue-white specifically is quite good nowadays, since we have Seachrome Coast, the newer Flood Farm Verge with a few basics to enable it, as well as Adarkar Wastes, another untapped dual land, even if it costs us some life. And then some utility lands, including a Restless Anchorage, which can make additional map tokens to synergize with our other creatures, and Fountain Port can also make fish tokens or treasure tokens, or perhaps sacrifice a token to draw, so we can maybe turn a map token into extra card advantage. So yeah, that's our deck. Now let's jump into some games and see how the deck does. Okay, we're on the draw. Our hand's not particularly exciting, but probably still keepable. Can play Mockingbird turn 1. Just so the Bunnycorn's a little bit larger by the time we play it, although it would still be in range of a cut down, which is maybe the primary concern. So in that case I can maybe wait on playing the Bunnycorn. We'll see. Now a Deep Cavern Bat, we'll have a look. Yeah, blue-black's gonna be tricky since Shelter by Ghosts is unlikely to stick around for long, since they're gonna have some instant speed removal. But we could now Mockingbird to return the favor. Opponent actually took the Bunnycorn. So let's see what they're working with. Cut down, as well as another Deep Cavern Bat, a counter spell, but only 2 lands. So take the cut down. And we'll see if our opponent wants to keep up their counter spells. If I trade, they get a cut down back. My Bunnycorn, I guess, isn't great when they have cut down to answer it, so we would go Steel Seraph. Unless our opponent just runs out Deep Cavern Bats, which I guess would make sense, because they can play Bat and have cut down up. So I don't think we trade. And then Zoetic Glyph is missing an artifact at the moment, so we can attack. And then basically get our Steel Seraph countered here if we go for it. But I probably have to cast something. I guess I could wait 1 more turn, because their opponent doesn't get to spend their mana. But next turn they'll have Curiosity available, so I can't really play Draw Go against a deck that's better suited at playing that type of game. Alright, Bunnycorn at least dodges their counter, so I could play that now. And then next turn Steel Seraph can also pay for interference. So our opponent's probably going to be inclined to tap out for a bat. They drew a tapped land. Inspector the draw. So we have options. Probably start with a Steel Seraph. Might see cut down on one of our creatures in response. Opponent's gonna make us tap out. But now Bunnycorn can attack. Don't want to trade Deep Cavern Bats, because then cut down would be able to take out Bunnycorn once again. Okay, so yeah, the way things ended up with our opponents missing a land drop and their land entering tapped, we might now have the upper hand where our opponent will be forced to play according to our terms as opposed to us having to play around all their instant speed tricks. Slasher can block Bunnycorn, and Bat can probably take Sheltered by Ghosts. So having a Vigilance Steel Seraph could be important so that Curiosity doesn't get out of hand with double Deep Cavern Bat. Now Warden isn't bad either. So the Bunnycorn is getting quite large. So I could Zoetic Glyph the Steel Seraph itself, or we could do it on the Clue token to diversify. A 3/3 Steel Seraph is already large enough, so this seems okay. And then can activate Warden, end of turn perhaps, and yeah, opponent's gonna scoop it up, maybe a little bit premature, but we were definitely ahead here. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw. We've got Axe and a good hand, so sign me up. Turn 1, if we want to play Siren, I will have to take 1 damage. Turn 1 Swiftspear. Could also play Warden, and then turn 2 by playing Siren, I can attack with Warden, although Mockingbird now an interesting twist. So Flood Farm doesn't make blue, so if we want to maximize our turn next turn by playing 2 1-drops, then I will have to play a blue creature now, although Bunnycorn's also tempting. And then if we want Bunnycorn to be as large as possible next turn, I would play Siren now. And then I can make a Flying Bunnycorn. So we have quite a few options here already. But yeah, I kind of like, against Mono Red, just playing Bunnycorn, have it survive a smaller burn spell, and then Shelter by Ghost on Bunnycorn could just be lights out. Opponent's got the Challenger on 2. Take 3. And then Bunnycorn's already going to be a 4/4. Still have to watch out for burn spells, so it's not like we can block all that easily. Alright, Monstrous Rage, the Challenger, trigger Valiant, and they found a Lightning Strike. So yeah, 3 damage, not quite enough. Although if they go face, we're also close to dead. But yeah, given our hands, I think we take it. And wow, Witchstalker Frenzy, talk about blowouts. That's painful. At least they're down to 1 card in hand, and I could still Shelter the Siren. Is that to play? Yeah, it might be. Just so we don't face a big Trampler next turn. And then Inspector, Mockingbird, Warden, all solid options. Probably go for Warden. Although I probably want to get my 2 life in. So I wouldn't be activating the Warden. Unless we tap itself. But maybe that's still okay. I would go to 6, so I'm not dead to another Lightning Strike. And then I can set up my next draw step. Flood Farm Verge, again, only makes white mana, so at this point a basic would be better. We're at 5. Alright, found our basic. So now we can go Inspector. And maybe just suit up the Siren with the Axe. Activate Warden, tapping the Axe. And 2 of those. Don't need another Siren. Back up to 11. And sure, I'll take it. And yeah, opponent says good game, so they might just be dead here. So yeah, that was a very swingy game. Opponent had the frenzy, but luckily no great follow-up. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw with a promising hand. Start with a Leyline Axe. We've got the Bunnycorn, which will benefit from it. Maybe just missing an Inspector or Siren to provide more permanence for the Bunnycorn. Although against black-white, they might have answers to the Bunnycorn anyway. So for now, play Warden. Maybe should have played Flood Farm Verge on the off chance that we top deck Mockingbird and I want to play 2 of them next turn. You never know. I see, so it's black-white bats. And our opponent gets to scry after surveilling. Play Bunnycorn, activate Warden. And don't need another land. Case of Uneaten Feast for more life gain. And Amalia. Fair enough. So that can get quite large. Opponent says no to the Sanctifier. Now we could already equip the Bunnycorn, but it feels like we want to wait until we get a more significant attack in. And Siren was a good draw, so now we can go Siren. Mockingbird can also copy the Bunnycorn. So we have a flying version, which I kind of like. As opposed to copying Siren to grow the first Bunnycorn more. And then activate Warden. Say no to the Anchorage. And smash. And then now we're in a great position to equip the axe. But even without equipping it, it already helped grow Bunnycorn and activate Warden. Alright, Enduring Tenacity can maybe set up the infinite combo next turn with a 5 mana flyer. So we need to try and present lethal. I will block. So there's no flying blockers, so equipping the flying Bunnycorn is 14 damage by itself, so that should do it. So no need for anyone else to attack. And there we have it. Awesome, on to the next one. Okay, we're on the play. We've got a Leyline Axe, Siren into Bunnycorn, so kind of the ideal start. And even a Zoetic Glyph in case we don't want to just equip the Bunnycorn. Well, let's see what we're up against. A red-white, it might be a more controlling deck. So Bunnycorn's not guaranteed to survive. At least as a 4/4 it survives a Lightning Helix. A Glass Casket, gonna exile it instead. Okay. So time for Zoetic Glyph. Still gonna enchant the map token here, so next turn we can maybe put a Leyline Axe on it as well. And then even if they exile the map, I'll still get to discover. It's going to be an Evangelist next, so now equipping the axe is a lot more appealing, but we drew Bunnycorn as well. So we have options. Going Bunnycorn, Siren, plus Explore could be good too. And then we'll still have plenty of permanence for Bunnycorn to be a real threat, especially with the axe. Opponent cannot cast Sunfall yet. And then next turn we might be able to close it out. So I think step 1's going to be Siren, sack to explore onto another Siren. Final lands. Attack. And play Bunny Corn. So also a 5/5. Although we might draw more token makers. And then, one way or another, we'll have a nice threat to suit up with a Leyline Axe. Equipping the glyph last turn was certainly an option, but then if they did have an answer, we're not necessarily in a position to attack for lethal. And now Anim Pakal. So it is a more aggressive tokens deck for sure. 1 white mana left. Could represent Elspeth's Smite, which would punish me for blocking, so should be safe enough to just take it. And then crack back for lethal. Aha, Dusk Rose Reliquary instead. Probably going for the axe now, but then they still have to jump with Anim. So yeah, blocking in hindsight would have been better. So yeah, opponents has to decide between Bunny Corn and Axe, but one way or another we're gonna be threatening lethal next turn. Goes for the Axe. And then now Siren off the top is 2 extra permanents. Fountain Port can add 1 more. But yeah, opponent's just gonna take it. Sweet, on to the next one. Alright, we're on the draw. We've got our Leyline Axe. Bit of removal, Zoetic Glyph. I guess we're missing an Inspector or a Siren to make an artifact token, but I think we can still keep. We've got a lot of good top decks. And at least against aggro, we've got a Sheltered by Ghosts to try and stabilize. Turn 1 Mountain it is, and another Warden, so that might eat a burn spell. But then next turn we can go Warden number 2 plus Mockingbird to copy it. Shock will take it out, and then we can immediately activate Warden, thanks to the Leyline Axe giving us an extra permanent. Challenger, turn 2. And another Axe, not the best draw. And then I probably activate the Flying Warden, since that's more likely to get suited up. Inspector is interesting. It would still be okay with the Wardens on the battlefield, although at this point we might prefer just a 3rd land to play Zoetic Glyph, or I guess to get closer to hardcasting another Axe, although the game might be over before we actually cast it. And then Sheltered by Ghost next turn is a good play. Yeah, it's a close call. I think we can bottom. Could just play the Zoetic Glyph and then keep it on defense. Although now it's tempting to just outrace our opponent instead. And then next turn Sheltered by Ghosts on the Zoetic Glyphed Axe. That's quite a sentence. Still have to watch out for Witchstalker Frenzy, I suppose. If we attack with 3 creatures, it only costs them 1 mana. So if I really wanted to play around it, I only attack with Leyline Axe. But it kind of feels like that might be a stretch. Although maybe it isn't. Either way, we still get to discover if they take out the Axe, so maybe it's fine. Right, just a Lightning Strike. That makes sense. They might have been waiting for us to activate Warden and then respond. Take 2. Any prowess triggers. Alright, it's gonna be double shock. So, Axe down, but we do get to discover here. And find a bunny corn, not bad. So that's a great recipient for the Sheltered by Ghosts. Although still potentially within range of a burn spell, but the ward is going to make it very difficult for the opponent to keep up. And the opponent scoops it up. Maybe if they had a third land, they could hope to draw another one and then lightning strike, but now it's too late. On to the next one. Alright, we're on the draw. We've got a promising hand, maybe missing some of our other 1-drops. That can put artifacts in play for Zoetic Glyph. And a Fear of Lost Teeth from our opponent. So we can play Mockingbird and copy the Fear. Although I don't really imagine I'm gonna put a Sheltered by Ghosts on it right away. So maybe it is fine to wait an extra turn. See if we maybe want to copy a 2-drop. Like a Deep Cavern Bat. So now they're potentially inclined to take the Mockingbird. Alright, opponent actually took the Zoetic Glyph. So let's go ahead and copy the bats. And see Liliana, Bandit's Talent, the Raven Man, so it is a discard deck. Yeah, I mean, Liliana is probably the biggest problem, since it just straight up answers our bat. But might end up just discarding 2 lands to the talent, actually. Although Sheltered by Ghosts not the most reliable card to keep against mono black. Okay, so opponent passed without playing anything, which heavily implies that they have removal for the bats. I'm just gonna suit up with Leyline Axe since I don't have any other way to spend my mana. But yeah, expect removal here. So we're not in great shape. No way to pressure Liliana. Opponent goes for Raven Man, Bandit's Talent. And 2 lands can go, so now if we top deck a creature I can maybe still suit it up with a Sheltered by Ghosts. Although that's not going to solve the Liliana problem. Alright, so Zoetic Glyph helps. So suit up the Axe, attack. And then now the -2 at least lets us discover. Keep Fountain Port in hand so we can discard if they decide to plus. Alright, opponent goes for Liliana.
This is my home, and I don't
And let's see what we get. Hopefully not another Zoetic Glyph, just an Inspector. So at least we have a target for Sheltered by Ghosts. And don't really want to trade for a Fear of Lost Teeth. So take it all. Well, at least we can also just attack Liliana now. And then Shelter, Inspector, exile the bats. Play Fountain Port, so we have that available. And then most likely keep the clue token around for Zoetic Glyph. Alright, let's see what's next. If they activate Raven Man, can just ditch the Seachrome Coast. Another Fear of Lost Teeth. Alright, so they could technically take out the Inspector with 2 Fear of Lost Teeth triggers. Opponent levels up the talent, so at least that's not gonna trigger here. And a Siren. So we'll glyph the clue. And then now they won't be able to use Fear of Lost Teeth to finish off the Inspector. And do I play the Siren, or do I keep an extra card in hand? I guess I can activate Raven Man next turn to enable the Bandit's Talents. But I don't really want my opponent drawing an extra card here. So I think we pass. And then I can still play the Siren and maybe sack the map token right away if needed. Cut down Inspector. That's too bad. So they get their bat back. which can now snipe the Siren. At least it didn't trigger the Raven Man, since it didn't technically discard. And lose 2 life, another Siren. Alright, at this point I can also play Siren, sack to draw off Fountain Port. But this is not a race we're necessarily winning. Still think we attack. Steal Seraph off the top would be awesome. They could also sack a Raven token to Fountain Port to draw. And a bat's gonna miss. And then now what? Probably fine to block the Fear, since it's not gonna really improve. We've got more flyers we could top deck. Still hoping for Steel Seraph off the top. Just a land. Alright, so can I still attack? Yeah, now I'm probably just dead on board, since our opponent can attack all out, including Fear of Lost Teeth, and at least 4 damage will go through. Is there anything I can do? Fountain Port, make a fish, doesn't save me any damage. Sacking the Clue to discover, I guess, is an option. But I don't know what we would hit that improves our situation, since Steel Seraph is a 6-drop technically. Fountain Port, sack the Clue is just worse than paying 2 mana. So yeah, I think we're dead. Opponent jumps with a Fear, but they can still put us to 3. And then I guess we'll see what we can top deck with a Discover. A Mockingbird, which is a flying blocker, but yeah, it's not going to copy anything, and we drew another land, so yeah, just ended up flooding a bit, strangely enough. Alright, GG's. Opponent should have it here, as long as they don't sack the bird. Alright, they sacked the bird, so now I'm technically not dead. I can block Raven Man, take 2, fall to 1. Alright, never mind, nowhere to run, clears Mockingbird. And that's game over. GG's. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw with a double Leyline Axe opener. Yes, sign me up. I can play Warden immediately activated. And then we've got a target for Sheltered by Ghosts facing a green deck. That's refreshing. And a Mockingbird would just be a flying Warden. I guess that's good enough. Could also copy the Llanowar Elves for what it's worth. So we can cast Zoetic Glyph. Alright, opponent's black, a green after all. And a Glissa. Glissa's a problem, so we probably need to shelter it. And then hope they don't have some sort of edict effect to make me sack the Warden. And then I can hit for 3, or we can keep activating to eventually gain flying. Definitely say no to another axe. So that was a worthwhile activation. Opponent has the mana to go for the throat and pay the 2. But it's just a Dread Knight. That's fine. And a third land. So now we have quite a few options, including just Leyline Axe suit up the Warden, although we might be putting a few too many eggs in one basket at that point. So instead, how do we feel about Mockingbird plus Warden. Yeah, Zoetic Glyph feels mediocre when our opponent can just jump with a Dread Knight if they really want to. So if we go Warden plus Mockingbird, Mockingbird might want to copy Warden once again, although they're not necessarily amazing in multiples. Starting to go back to just Leyline Axe the Warden since their opponent didn't have an answer last turn. Yeah, you know what, let's just go for it. Hit you for 10, and next turn we can play some creatures pre-combat to activate Warden first. Alright, and our opponent concedes, so a quick win thanks to double axe. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play with an axe opener, and lots of ways to enable the Warden, so sign me up. And is this a situation where we actually play Warden on turn 1, so I can turn 2 activate it and immediately attack for 2? Yeah, I don't hate it. In the face of removal, it might be safer to keep Warden until turn 2. Opponent on Lizards. That's fine. And a Steel Seraph could be nice. So, pretty straightforward turn. Suppose we also could have considered using the map token to try and hit the land drop for next turn. Now I think we just double activate, look for land 3. And then we could Zoetic Glyph before we suit up the axe. But yeah, just look at how many permanents we have in play on turn 2 already. Opponent tries to keep up. So how do we feel about Zoetic Glyph on maybe the clue token, which I'm furthest from activating? And then activate Warden. Another axe is probably not needed. And hit you for 10, and then next turn we can suit up the axe or go for either flying or lifelink. So yeah, with a start like this, there's not a whole lot our opponents can do about it, other than just trying to remove our stuff as soon as possible. But now we're just attacking from too many angles. Opponent's got another Lizard incoming. Maybe the one that makes us discard, yep, the Warlock. But as it turns out, we can still win with what we have on the battlefield. Suit up Warden, and that's 10 damage in the air, as is. So don't need to overcomplicate it. Could even activate it once again, but 10 damage is enough. Sweet, and we get to rank up here as well. So yeah, we get to showcase the power of blue-white Leyline Axe. And yeah, the deck seems pretty decent for the current best of 1 meta, especially if you're lucky enough to start out with a Leyline Axe in your opener. The deck can be somewhat weak to very aggressive decks when you don't draw your Sheltered by Ghosts, because we don't have any real removal otherwise, other than just trying to gain life with a Steel Seraph. So particularly the red-white aura decks can be more difficult matchups, since the opponents can also build up a huge creature, protect it, and then eventually give it lifelink. And then if we don't have one of our particularly busted starts, we're probably going to fall behind. So yeah, the aura matchup is probably still going to favor red-white, but otherwise I think the deck can beat pretty much anyone if we have a good enough opening hand. So yeah, that's going to do it for today's gameplay. Want to thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, and as always, have a nice day.